Recently, the Canadian government announced that it's committed to banning the use of single-use plastics by 2021 to help protect the environment. This will be part of a larger strategy by Canada to tackle the problem of plastic pollution. So I'm going to explain what exactly is being banned, why it's being banned, and what effect it will have on the Canadian people. The full list of items being banned by Canada will closely follow the model chosen by the European Union, which voted in March as well to ban certain plastic products. This is likely to include things like plastic straws, cotton swabs, drink stirrers, plates, cutlery, and balloon sticks, according to the CBC. They will also ban products made from oxo-degradable plastics, like plastic bags. Despite being designed to be more easily degraded in the environment, they still include additives that don't completely degrade, but rather fragment into smaller pieces and remain in the environment. As well, products made of expanded polystyrene, which is similar to white styrofoam, which is used in fast food containers and cups, will also be banned. In a report that was commissioned earlier this year by Environment and Climate Change Canada, they found that in 2016, only 9% of plastic waste was recycled in Canada, with 87% winding up in landfills. They've stated that Canadians throw away an average of more than 34 million plastic bags every single day. This is an issue that faces the entire globe. It's estimated as much as 8 million tons of plastic wind up in the ocean each year. That's the equivalent of 630 billion single-use plastic water bottles. To give you an idea, by 2050 there might be more plastic in the water than there are fish. Now, this ban is not just to protect the environment, even though that's pretty important. It's also to protect us as well from the problem of microplastics that wind up in our water and food supply. Microplastics are pieces of plastic that are under 5 millimeters in diameter, or smaller in size than that of a sesame seed. They come from a variety of sources, including the degradation of larger plastic products, particles from water bottles, plastic packaging, and synthetic clothes. A study from the University of Victoria compiled research on microplastics from 26 research papers to try and estimate how much people are consuming based on the amount of microplastics in individual food items. The average was estimated to be likely between 70,000 and 121,000 particles per year. Notably, younger girls are on the low end of consumption, while adult men were the high end. This was based on the analysis of fish, shellfish, sugars, salt, alcohol, water, and air. However, many more were not examined, such as beef, poultry, dairy, and grains, so this estimation should be taken with a grain of salt. And while these numbers do seem large, the key here is we don't yet know what level of consumption is actually dangerous. The majority of consequences of microplastics entering the human body are still mostly unknown. We do know that some microplastics can make it through the gut into the bloodstream, and have observed some microplastics in diseased tissue, but we still don't know what the threshold is, and what fraction of the population will get sick due to microplastics. While there's still too little research on humans to say for sure, we can look at the effects on sea life. Research ocean-wise has stated there are two main effects that have been observed in sea life. Structural toxicity, which is when plastic literally blocks the gills or the stomach of the fish, convincing it that it's full, causing it to starve to death. Not exactly possible for humans, given we don't have gills. And more concerning for us, exposure to endocrine disrupting chemicals that can have a variety of effects on the body. Many of the plastics that wind up in the environment have hardening agents like BPA, bisphenol A, or phthalates, or flame retardants, so for any living being exposed to them, there is concern from a toxicological standpoint. We're at the point where we know microplastics at some dose could be harmful, but we're not at the point where we can say whether what the average person is encountering is the equivalent of one cigarette in a lifetime, or that chronic exposure, like a pack a day. Perhaps the biggest issue, though, is that these particles don't really go away, and they're just going to increase in concentration over time in the environment, because the plastic simply isn't breaking down in a reasonable time frame, and we keep putting more plastic in the environment. The report from earlier also found that in Canada, plastics manufacturing has become one of the fastest growing sectors now, worth about $35 billion in sales, and employing 93,000 people, mostly in Ontario, Quebec, and Alberta. Now, there's a lot of concern over this ban potentially affecting people's jobs and the possible economic damage, but this is mostly not a concern. And I must stress that this is a single-use plastics ban, not a plastic ban. According to the Chemistry Industry Association of Canada, the ban most likely won't affect the billions of dollars in petrochemical projects in Canada, which have all gotten a boost in recent years, mostly thanks to incentive programs by the government. In Alberta, polypropylene projects are being built to turn propane into plastic, and Ontario is in the middle of a $2 billion expansion of its Sarnia polyethylene plant. On Earth, it's estimated as much as 8% of global oil goes directly into plastic production, and this excludes what's being used to transport the plastics to market, the energy used to transfer it to the landfill, to recycle or incinerate them. Now, speaking of landfills, the issue of waste disposal and recycling is a topic in and of itself, but recently Canada was criticized for dozens of containers of rotting garbage that were found in the Philippines, and our government is spending $1.14 million to bring them back to Canada for disposal. 103 containers with about 2,500 tons of waste arrived after being falsely labeled as being full of recycling plastics, and after being inspected, it was found 2/3 of them were full of ordinary garbage like electronic waste and used diapers. This case really exemplifies the shady nature of the global recycling industry, which often sees millions of tons of recyclables winding up in garbage dumps and incinerators overseas rather than actually being recycled. Now, I do have some concerns with the government's plan, however. First off, there isn't a specific deadline. As early as 2021 is very different as by 2021. Some areas have already moved to reduce plastic waste, but to make any serious change, a consistent national strategy will be necessary. Tofino and Deep Cove in British Columbia have banned plastic straws, Fogo Island recently replaced plastic bags with alternatives, Montreal is banning the use of plastic bags and bottles, and St. John's promised in 2017 it would ban plastic bags. Now, this plan, if well implemented, will definitely reduce plastic pollution in the environment, and significantly reduce people's exposure to microplastics and other harmful chemicals by a significant amount. It's most likely a positive step forward to protect ourselves and the environment we live in, but implementation is key, and we'll face many more environmental issues that need to be tackled as well. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button, and if you want to see more like it, please consider subscribing to my channel to see my videos when they're released. And if you want to be sure you don't miss any of them, you can hit that bell down below to get notifications for all my releases. Anyways, see ya and have a nice day.